You're listening to episode 8 of the MicroProse podcast. Today's featured guests are Jason Christie and James Podesta, who will be chatting with us about their game, Gangs of Asia.
Hello and welcome back to the MicroProse podcast. We are Dan Tozer and Nancy Knott, and today we are talking about Gangs of Asia.
Have you ever wanted to dominate rival gangs by seizing their buildings?
Yes.
Do you yearn to unleash special attacks, summon fighters, and command an army?
Yes.
Good, because in Gangs of Asia, you actually can do these things.
Can I take control of gang leaders to command powerful sumos, stealthy ninjas, and legendary kung fu masters?
Yes.
Can I take over buildings to generate resources and unleash attacks in epic boss showdowns?
No. Actually, yes, you can. And guess what?
What?
There's a map editor. But maybe I should stop rambling and let you actually introduce our guests.
Today, we are joined by Jason Christie and James Podesta, the developers behind Gangs of Asia. Jason Christie is a games and XR veteran who's worked on many games including Star Wars and Spyro. He helped pioneer Australia's first commercial VR application, and now Jason is bringing his vast experience to Gangs of Asia.
James Podesta is a programmer, engine builder, and lifelong game maker whose career spans countless games and countable decades. James is the technical heart of Gangs of Asia, and we are honoured to be interviewing James and Jason today, right now, in fact.
James, Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys.
Hey, good to be here.
It's good to have you here. For anyone who's just discovering Gangs of Asia, how would you describe it?
We kind of pitch it as a multiplayer Kungfu Action RTS. But if you pitched it against a similar game, maybe a League of Legends would be a similar game. It just doesn't have lanes. But that's how I would generally describe it.
You two go way back, working together at Krome in the 2000s. How long have you been working together on Gangs of Asia?
Too long. Like 9 years?
Yeah, it's probably been about 9 years. So to put that in a bit of context, though, we only work one night a week. So we get together each Tuesday. We do a bit of work outside of that time as well. But we've had huge periods of time where we haven't been able to work on the game. Like we've gone through the industry collapsing and coming back a little bit and, various kids growing up and all this kind of stuff. So lots happened in that time. 9 years is a good amount of time. Yeah.
And we've both sort of worked with other people independently, trying to get indie games working.
Yeah.
And then once we came together to start doing this game, we just kind of stuck at it. When
we were making games early on, you definitely needed a coder to get anywhere like this. So I would always hit James up and go, "Oh, this idea," and show him stuff. And I think eventually James did a little prototype of just a guy running around kicking people, and once from there, the game just kind of evolved. We originally thought of just doing a pure RTS where it was like a Kung Fu art, which is still a cool idea, like a more historically accurate kind of RTS. But then we found it more fun to be the action hero, and it just evolved from there. Yeah.
On that note, the visual identity of Gangs of Asia is incredibly strong. You guys have been very open with how you approach Kung Fu as a global cultural phenomenon whilst paying respectful homage to the historicity of your inspiration and influences. Can you talk about how you've navigated this path?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like we grew up with the Kung Fu culture, like it was heavily marketed in the West. It was a huge influence on us as well. And then how that kind of Kung Fu culture also mixed with hip hop, and the stories of it kind of changed. It became this kind of cultural reference for a lot of things, not just Asia. But there's a huge, heavy influence with Asia. And I think we didn't treat it as something that was potentially sensitive, but because we approached it in that kind of innocent way, and we loved the vibe that it gives, we just heavily lent into it.
Jason's very big on fighting games as well, and Kung Fu games. So we every night we throw different game ideas at each other, and then we fight over which one we're going to do.
Like Kung Fu style fight or just verbal?
Yeah.
Verbal dialogue. We've already got the next 3 games ideas all set up in a row that we're going to go on to. So it's, once we got it playable, it was just pretty obvious that it was a fun game. So we just stick with it.
Yeah. And we would come back to it after 8 months and then play each other and go, "Oh yeah, this game's heaps of fun." So it was this funny kind of reconnecting each time. Yeah.
Yeah. We're both the kind, we have to make a game that we enjoy doing. Like there's a lot of games where you can look what's selling well and you could do that sort of game. But unless we actually want to play it ourselves, we just have no motivation. So we just kept playing it over years and modifying bits that didn't feel fun and then adding stuff that felt fun.
I think it's interesting too because Kung Fu is such a mishmash of different styles and cultures, and there's so much to it. So I was just wondering if we could maybe have a little peek at some of your influences in what did inspire you.
Oh, it'll be all the movies, all the old Bruce Lee movies, and actually Jason has a far bigger repertoire of the older movies. I know the classics of the Bruce Lees and the IP Man and the Jackie Chan.
But even much later, like, with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and these movies have such a big influence on the West. Like, it's one of those things. And so it's like even anime as well. Anime has a big influence on us. Well, me anyway. I watch a lot of anime, so and have since I was like younger. So making something that kind of like resonates with that was cool.
Could you explain how did the game evolve from pure RTS into this fast-paced party game style?
It was definitely James's idea, because James is the coder, so he can try stuff out, right? And then in my head, I start thinking of all these other ideas. So I'd be like, oh, it'd be cool if you had a gang with you and they, like a Kung Fu movie, and they surround you. And then as I was doing the art, it kind of pushed it even more. So we have all these like huge special powers that you can do and these big effects. And they come from a lot of movie references, especially from China. Definitely a lot of movies from China. Yeah, you watch those movies and there's characters flying around and special effects and super dynamic.
We've both got a bit of a background liking RTS games as well. There are a lot of changes and discussions about how much you control individual characters, because this is not a traditional RTS where you select every individual character and send them off. It's more of an action game with an RTS blended into it. And then there's the visual style where you really wanted to see them all gathered around you, but camera would focus it so it looked like you're just having an actual fight, but then there'd be all this chaos of people fighting around you while you're doing it. It's amazing when you got 8 years of trying things out.
We had lots of challenges with the game, and it's interesting when you work part-time on something and you get these really big challenges and you're like, oh, well, how are we going to fix that or change that? I mean, I remember early ones where I would post up stuff with the art, and I remember posting up some game footage and someone's like, I don't know what's going on, And we've done lots of changes that, we tried to make the game as accessible and as clear, and it's really deep as well. That's the other thing.
We've tried to make it deep in a very layered way, so you can pick it up and just play it like a pure action game and not really follow what's going on. And then you can layer on, I'm going to summon certain units and they'll fight with me, but then you can layer on, I'm going to use this particular upgrading path and I'm going to focus on these units. Or I might, instead of doing that, I'm going to focus on these specials and use specials to kill them. So there's a number of different pathways that you can do, and it's kind of guess what's the opponent going to do, because you need to do the right thing that's going to counter what they're doing. But you don't have to play at that level. So there's enough with the big specials. It's sort of like that Mario Kart thing where a fairly simple player can get off a special at the right time and wipe out the other opponent's complete strategy and twist the entire game turns in a few seconds, and now you've suddenly got a chance.
Yeah, so there's lots of that, and we play against each other. It's always stressful when we verse each other, for real.
Oh yeah,
I got really good at playing the micro fighting part.
It's also we're trying to do a video. We're trying to do a video to specifically trail one particular component, but then you just get into you don't want to lose. It's okay. I'm supposed to bring all my units in, and he's going to kill them all with this attack. And I go, what if I just buff them invincibility before I send them in, then I win? And
yeah, and I'm like, what are you doing? There's no, you can't do yeah.
So the video is a bit rough, but you do win the battle, and that's the important thing. We've also got a dynamic because there's times when neither of us have time to work. So if I come up with an idea, I can code it, but I need him to do the art. So I have to convince him that this is a good idea, that he'll spend the 6 hours to do the art. And likewise, he'll come up with a great idea, but he has to convince me that I'm going to waste 12 hours of my life coding it. So he's got to convince me over a Discord chat that it's going to be worth coding.
You've built a decent following. What can you tell us about your online community?
With that stuff, it was more for motivation. Like it's one of those things when you're working on something and you're like, at the start, it's just like, oh, do people like my art? I'm an artist, so I've been an artist for 30 years. I'm a technical artist now, but I still, and also an artist. So I've gone more into the technical side of things. So you still want people to like your art, and I think what I was doing there is also convincing James that we were making a cool game. I'm like, look, people like the game. This is motivation for us to keep going. And once we kind of got closer, I think for people could see that it was an actual going to be a game. We started to get a bit more of a following, and I think it was once I released the trailer that was when it started to kind of steamroll a little bit. Like the community's awesome. Like I post a lot on Reddit and where I'm allowed to post because it is self-promotion. So, I'd have to do it in the right places. The support's always really good. So, really good community, and do appreciate when people take the time to comment on your stuff. And most of my friends online too are from the games community. So having that local support and supporting each other is super important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the community appreciates when there's a developer that is willing to share all that stuff with the community too. The trailer you mentioned a few minutes ago, I believe that might be related to the story behind how Gangs of Asia became a MicroProse title.
Yeah, it was funny because James and I knew we needed to do a trailer, and it's one of those things where you've got to get so much footage and then cut it up. So it takes a lot of effort to make a trailer, and you have to really think about what you want in it. So I kind of had the framework of what I wanted for the trailer, which was to just explain the game in 1 minute. Like that was my kind of goal. So I made that trailer, and I made James play me heaps of times, and we got heaps of footage. And I sent it to James, and then James sent back, he goes, "Oh, we actually made a good game." So it was funny. I was like, "Oh, maybe the trailer's actually what we needed for people to understand what the game was." First of all, I posted it up on the Indie Game Dev on Facebook, and that we got it like 1,000 likes there, more than anything I've ever posted before. And then I think a few other places I posted, and then I posted on Reddit. Then I went onto the front page of Reddit for a little while, which was cool. I think it was the Pixel Art sub. And those guys there are super supportive. They've been dealing with my post for 9 years, and so we did that. We got heaps of response. And then I had a friend, Ignacio Treyes.
Yeah, we interviewed him.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Ignacio Treyes, and he's one of the most supportive, caring guys.
Yeah, we love Ignacio.
This is like early on. He was, because I remember he posted his game, and I sent it to James. I was like, check this out. So then we followed each other, and at the very early stages, and then I saw his, success started growing off, and then he'd always post and go, "Man, your stuff just needs the right audience." Like he goes, "It's amazing." And then when that happened, he contacted me, and he's like, I think he must have contacted Dave from MicroProse. So then I started Googling, because I'm a huge OG MicroProse fan. Like there weren't that many game companies back then. So, I'm a huge sim fan, all that kind of stuff. So then I got the text message wanting to set up a meeting. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. And then I messaged James, and
he messaged me, and then we organized the meeting with him on Discord. Yeah. So no, that was already really good. We haven't had a bad interaction with MicroProse, so.
No, not at all. We want to put it on the Switch, and that's something, we kind of like those consoles as well, where couch co-op is a thing, and it looks great on a big TV.
I think it'll be a good match for the Switch.
How hard do you find it is to balance something that's meant to be like both couch co-op chaos and serious competition?
My background in gaming is competition gaming. So I've had a TF2 clan, and when I used to play, it was like a full-time job almost. So competition games, like I know what that means to make a competition game. There are specific things you want to be able to do, and one of them is modifiers in the game, which allows people to modify the game. So there's a vanilla portion of the game and then a modifier. So within the modifiers, you could start rich, or so there's a whole heap of them. And we have another whole page of where we can fill. So we can fill anyone who comes up with ideas, we can add them to these modifiers. And also the map editor. So just say you wanted where it was like a very left and right type of map. So you could have a game where you don't have special effects, or you can't upgrade yourself. And because it has this element of competition, if you have those things within the game, you can guarantee people will turn it into a competition. But you've got to be able to allow them to modify the game enough, and you can fully mod the game. If you just want to build a map or a set of maps for competition that have a specific rule set, then you can do that. Like the worst thing for me is letting someone play your game and they don't know what's going on. Like I've seen it before where people make a game, then someone plays it, and you can just see it's like the soul leaving their body as they're playing it. They just they'd rather be anywhere else. James and I have also we've grown up with games our whole life, so knowing what someone will enjoy is really what if you enjoy. So if you're making something you don't enjoy, then, and that could be any genre, it doesn't matter what it is, you should be able to have a level of enjoyment if you open up to it. So I think that's a really long answer, but but yeah.
It's a good answer. And the good thing about Gangs of Asia is it does feel really easy to just pick up and play. But once you get into it, you realize there's strategy going on, like population, money, upgrades, unit choice. And so, I think you've pulled that off really nicely.
You chose to build your own engine for the development of this game. How long did that take? And could you tell us a bit more about that?
I've released games on iOS before. And so I already had my own engine for the games that I did on iOS. And so the engine from this became a retask of those, although there's not much of it left now after 8 years. We use Unity and Unreal in our day jobs. When you do your own engine, you know what every single line does. So when somebody says, I want to change all that and I want to fix this and I want this effect, I can just go straight in there and modify it, and in 1 minute it's done. Whereas if it's somebody else's engine, then I've got to go and research, okay, how do I do that in Unity? Like, I know exactly what I want to do, but I don't know how they let you do it. So I've got to learn stuff. And at my age, you don't want to learn anymore. You just want to use your backlog of existing knowledge. So for me, writing an engine is just reusing knowledge I've already got. Although I'm starting to learn some Vulkan and mesh rendering and some modern like AAA techniques, and that is pretty painful learning. Gangs of Asia, because it's all pixel art, super easy to write an engine. The editor took a lot more work because I do it all in C++, and C++, this gets a bit technical, but C++ doesn't have any reflections, so I had to write my own reflection system so you can put in structures and the structures automatically appear in the menus as data that you can enter. The Unity gets away with that because C# has reflections, so they picked a really good choice when they picked C# as their language. But I hate garbage collection, so I didn't use that. So I do write my own. But it's a hobby that I love doing. I just have to, convince Jason that he has to give up all the cool tools and all the existing engines and use my bare bone engine that runs really fast and it compiles really fast, but has absolutely no artist support.
A small price to pay unless you're the artist.
And I'm not, so it's a win-win.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though. I mean, we progressed the tools in it over the 8 years as well. At the start, I had to use text editors because the way we do the game, it's pixel art, so it's 2D art. But what we do is James does maths stuff, engine stuff. The pixels have to be drawn within a 3D space, so you have to tell how many high it is.
Because it's a pixel art game, but we have real-time dynamic shadows, so it's a bit like that old game Fez that went really viral, that it's pixel art, but then the whole screen rotates because it's really 3D art. You don't see the 3D until the camera moves. So everything that we've got is pixel art, but if you move the camera, you'd realize that all the buildings are actually big billboards that cast shadows.
And how we generate those billboards, it's like done in code. So I would just say, well, this house is, 18 pixels tall and then 20 pixels there. So I'd create the shape within code and then layer things on top of it. So we would layer other things that I would want to cast shadows, like the balustrades, and so anything in front that's casting shadows behind it. So I would layer the buildings up to kind of have this effect. So that was all just text editor, and then we made there's a prefab editor, so I could put a collection of things together and save it as an asset to use somewhere else. So that was like super handy. So we had like a prefab system, and then we had particle editor in there. So we just had to keep adding to that to be able to do all the stuff we wanted to do. And what else do you have? Oh, ragdoll. There's like a ragdoll editor.
Ragdoll. There's blood systems.
Yeah, the blood system. And the ragdoll is really cool. Like a lot of these now are artist friendly. You just follow the same rule and it will rig the character up and be ragdolling in the games.
Well, that's just complicated enough that if you haven't used it for 6 months, it's going to take us a few days to work out how to ragdoll a character again.
Yeah. That's been the hardest challenge because we don't document anything. I have to remember every time we put a new character in, I have to try to remember the whole pipeline to put in a character. And, it's evolved to the point where I don't need James to do a lot of the stuff in it now. So I could just use the editor. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've added like lookup screens. So for when he's balancing all the attacks, I put a screen in that summarizes the attacks and DPS of every single character. So you can just go in and sort of balance out that they look like they're doing generally the right amount of damage. So one of them's not going to unbalance the others.
Yeah.
There's a few little screens like that just tabulates all the information in a way that Jason can edit one particular aspect.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If he complains enough that it's hurting his soul too much, then I'll spend a night and put a new screen in.
That's good teamwork right there.
Yeah. And looking ahead, what excites you most about people finally getting their hands on the finished game?
Yeah, for me anyway, it's been a long time. We're just kind of excited to see people play, and we definitely want to make other games too. So we've got a list, like James said. Every time we talk, we have different ideas for different games. We're doing something for so long, you kind of want to do some new stuff as well. But we're pretty sure, over early access, this game will evolve as well. So I think the motivation will come from the people playing it.
Yeah, we definitely get your motivation from knowing that even if just a few people like it, because I've done a few iOS games in the past and haven't really made much money, but there's always been like one person who'll just keep talking to you for the next few years saying, oh, it's part of my childhood, can you get this back on iOS because I really want to play it again? And It's always nice knowing that there's at least one or two people who really liked your game idea and still following it and still looking for sequels and things.
Yeah.
And this generation can have Gangs of Asia.
Let's hope so.
So, James, JC, you both like games. Would you like to play a game right now?
All right.
Today's mystery segment is a game show called You're Correct. Old School Edition.
Here are the rules. We ask you a question, and then you have 5 seconds to provide us with an answer. Then we say, you're correct, and ask another question.
It's less of a game and more of a what we're already doing, but slightly faster.
And your time starts now.
The year is 1990 something. What is your favorite game?
So the 90s, I have to say Doom dominated the 90s. I'm going to put Doom down, lock me in.
Yeah, 90s. Mine was probably Elite 2, like Frontier. Elite 2 was what I was playing.
You're correct.
If you could be any character from a movie released prior to the year 2000, who would you be and why?
Game or movie prior to 2000. I don't know a lot of characters, but one that I'd probably never forget is probably Duke Nukem. I think there's a guy who had some adventures.
Go get some.
That's pretty good. Yeah, so mine, I couldn't think of one, but I picked John Carmack on it because he's a celebrity, so I think that's good enough.
You're correct. What was the first game you ever worked on?
Well, the first game I ever wrote was a little a maze game that I wrote when I was 10, and I had an Atari 2600 Compumate, which is like a little computer keyboard that you put on the Atari 2600 and you get like a 99 lines of basic. The first game I worked on professionally was Stargunner that we published with. It was the last game that Apogee ever did. It's like a 2D horizontal shoot 'em up.
Yeah, my first professional game was probably Barbie on Ice, I think.
Well, guess what? You are
You're correct.
What is the oldest piece of gaming-related technology you currently own?
My Atari 2600 that my kids bought for me last Christmas, which I only just got a piece of hardware that I could actually plug it in and tune it to my on a 64 screen.
Mine's the Amiga 500. It's just the one I owned when I was younger. I still have it.
I got one of those too.
So, every now and then, just for nostalgia, turn it on, boot some discs up. And...
You're correct.
Yeah, more correct than we were expecting.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Correct. What was the first video game you ever played and how old were you?
When I was like 5, I have one memory of being at I think it was at a zoo or botanical gardens, and they had an arcade machine outside the place where you get food. And I either had Defender or Space Invaders because there weren't many games around in those days. So I'm going to say that one.
The first game I ever owned, I think that would probably be what I would do, but it was Parachute, and it was a Game & Watch game. So that was the first game. I just remember it was, I clocked it. But that's how much I played it.
Okay.
Correct.
And I don't know if we're about to have any repetition here because it sounds like we might, but which of your childhood games do you find yourself coming back to as an adult?
XCOM, definitely, because it's just, I've played it, I emulate it on every device. I end up playing it. Like, it's just one of those games I can play. Chronos Trigger was the other one because it's one of the first RPGs I played that I kind of like become obsessed with. Org Tactics is another one. These are GBA games too, so a lot of during the GBA era I was like heavily into tactic games, and then Wizardry 8 is the other one I always come back to, so it's just an old school RPG. Yeah,
I'm going to get really old now. There's these arcade games with like Time Pilot, Gyrus and Mooncrest. And I used to get the emulators out and I just play them again. I think every year at some point I'll whip out Time Pilot and just do... Those games only had about 4 levels and then you just restart it again, so I'll just play them until I get through and restart.
In your opinion... Oh, wait. Correct.
Phew.
In your opinion, what is the greatest game of all time?
There's so many ways to judge that. I'm probably going to say either Doom or Minecraft, just because of the massive effect they had on the entire world.
They're good answers, so he's obviously correct. Probably Ocarina of Time. It kind of made me want to make games, yeah. So
all your answers are making me feel so old, because you say Elite 2 and then I just say the original Elite on the Commodore 64.
Yeah, no, that's ancient.
And you've just jumped forward like 10 years for your answer.
Correct.
What is the last video game you played?
Well, I weekly play with some Americans online. We play 4-play cooperative games. So we just finished Hammerwatch, and we've just started Vermintide End of Times. So Vermintide End of Time and Trine. When one of the guys can't turn up and we need a 3-player game, we play Trine. So up to Trine 4 now.
Correct.
How did you know it's correct? I might have lied.
Yeah, for me, it's like the last game I bought was X4 Foundations, because I think it was on sale when I bought it. It's just been sitting in. I buy a lot of Steam games, and it takes me a while to get around to playing them. So, and I love space games. So, and I'm liking it so far. And I've also bought Sons of the Forest, I think it is called. That yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I love survival games. Yeah, I love survival games as well. So yeah, just those ones. And on Arc Raiders, I'm playing that with mates.
You are correct.
And here is the final question. Are you feeling as old as we are right now?
No, I'm feeling older.
Correct.
Oh, that was really fun. Thank you for humoring us with that so-called game. You guys are awesome and very correct. So I think we should give you a round of applause. Cue sound effect.
Jason, James, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best with Gangs of Asia.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
If Gangs of Asia sounds like your kind of game, you can jump on Steam right now and request access to playtesting. Your input can play a role in shaping the future of this Kungfu Action RTS game's future, as James and Jason fine-tune heroes, tweak levels, and shape the game in a way that brings you the most fun. If you're listening to this episode in the future, and the playtesting period is over, good news! You can play the full game in all its pixel art kung fu fighting glory, or at the very least, you can wishlist Gangs of Asia right now on Steam.
Correct!
The MicroProse podcast will return next month with more exclusive interviews, gaming news, and, as always, a brand new mystery segment. In the meantime, check out our show notes, wishlist some games, and binge watch the MicroProse YouTube channel for more information on everything we've covered here today.
And endgame.